I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 41st Nation in Treaty 3 territory. I'll introduce the panel members. I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairing. Diane Knight and Ian McMahon are here with us today. Our assessment department today will be Jeremy Poole. And our administrative personnel will be Jaswinder Kumar. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note that you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once the hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We'll be hearing applications for revision for the business assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Act and the City of Winnipeg Charter. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, although limited to discussion to those matters. Statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council as independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value, or Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to an application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after the applications have been heard. The board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1 through 4 and then 6 and 7 on our docket today. Mr. Kumar, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Jeremy Ryan-Paul.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Mr. Mason, please state your full name.
Christopher Mason.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jeremy, if you could read it on, please.
Sure.
Item 201.
I think we need to, I'll just read the file number is 22-3096. The address is Unit 1402-01 Portage. Business assessment ID number is 3344. Before we go into it, there seems to be some, there may be an issue area at 28,881 square feet. I didn't find this out until receiving the briefs yesterday morning. And then I had contact with the appellant in the afternoon. So there was not enough time to get an inspection for this property. But getting to the nuts and bolts of it, it seems like what's on lease, which was presented from the applicant, may not be the same area that we have. I went back and checked our files. We had contact with the tenant. There was an inspection done in 2018 that indicated they took over units 1510 and 1590, which increased their area to what we have today. It was confirmed. After reviewing the information from the appellant, it looks like that either did or didn't happen, or maybe they reduced space and didn't let us know. I'm not sure. But before I get further into it, I would think that if there's another date that we could move this to, it would give me enough time to facilitate an inspection. And then we can come back and we can discuss the areas if there is an issue with the area. I believe the appellant, after conversation with them, is not contesting the rental rate. So if it is just an issue of area and there is a more than a nominal difference, we could probably address it via 15-1 and we need to carry forward with an adjourned date. So with that, I think we're jointly going to ask for an adjournment to another date if that's acceptable to the panel. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
The difficulty with adjourning it, we have to bring these panel members now back if we come for this one file, because we're adjourning it after we've presented it already.
Can I speak to that point, Chair? I think that it's a fairly straightforward enough issue, and I talked to Jeremy on it. So it's either going to be a withdrawal of the appeal if we confirm the assessor's area, or a reduction in the area if we confirm it that I'm right. So I don't think we need more than a couple weeks, and I'm sure that you're either going to get a withdrawal or section 15.1's on it. So that I doubt that there's going to be any hearing actually in process. So an adjournment is just procedurally just to kind of give us the time to properly review it and then then make a determination on it.
I understand where you're both coming from, but Jazz, are we allowed to just adjourn it? They can't bring back the 15-1 once we've adjourned it. You'll have to bring the committee back. Is that not correct?
Yes.
No, if there is an error in area and we correct it, then we can deal with 15-1 and there would be withdrawal by 15-1. There would be no, even if we turned it to another date, there would be no hearing. And if the areas are correct, there would still be a withdrawal. So there would be no hearing. So setting it to a different date is most formality, given that we've agreed to the rental rate in place. It's either right or it's wrong for area, and either way it will be handled with a 15-1 with a withdrawal or an outright withdrawal. So it seems the most reasonable way to go forward, given the size difference that is being shown here.
Can we do that, Jazz?
I mean, we are on record, both agent and repeating the one issue.
My problem is we've already opened the file. Once we've opened the file, we have to deal with it. I don't know how we can adjourn it if we adjourn it, I don't know if you can bring it.
I've had other deals adjourned where there was a 15-1 each, and we took the withdrawal afterwards. It's not an issue that the hearing started. The appellant can withdraw at any point in time. And 15-1 is effectively a withdrawal or an outright withdrawal in the case where the areas are correct.
Well, you're both in agreement. We're going to have a discussion in camera after and see what we do with it. So we'll see how we deal with it. Okay. But not right now. Not right now, Jazz. We're not going to be dealing with the issue at this time. We're just going to leave it over till the end, and we will deal with it at that time. So let's move on.
So Mr. Mason doesn't need to stick around for anything then?
No, he doesn't have to stick around because we're just going to deal with it and we'll see what then, because
okay,
the applicant.
just asking. That's all.
I think my only concern with that is if you're not adjourning it, are we going forward with the hearing then? And then I'll have to present my evidence. So do I have to stick around for however long it's going to be?
Well, your evidence has already been presented because we've got it on file here.
Can we just message Visa?
We could. And that's what I'll probably end up doing. Well, you want me to do it now?
I think maybe that's probably best.
Hey, Jazz, put us in camera, please.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
I'll get Visa.
And can I just make, I have the wrong, not GFL environmental, if that can be noted on the evidence there.
Okay.
Do we have to have Mr. Pohl and Mr. Mason step away?
We're going in camera. The assessment department and the applicant have both asked for an adjournment for a couple of weeks, so we're going to probably end up doing that when we deal with the matter camera at the end. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks. This item's now closed for today. Item number 2, Jazz. When you're ready, mister. So, well, we got to wait for who's the applicant on that one.
Mr. Justina Christian.
Okay, swear her in, please.
Okay, Justina, please state your full name. You're muted.
Justina, you're muted.
Please turn your mic off.
Does she hear us?
Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, Justina Christian.
The camera's not on, Justina.
It is now.
Here.
Yeah, I can see her.
Okay, swear her in, please.
Yeah, please state your full name.
Justina Christian.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jeremy, please read on the file for 51 Lily Street.
Our file number is 223090. It's 51 Lily Street. Business assessment ID number is 21675. We had an ARV of 84,000, and that's with a square foot area of 4,344 square feet for an ARV overall, which was $19.34. Below that indicated we had a base rent or net rent of $17.14. This property is owner occupied, but after review of the marketplace, I feel there's a reduction necessary to $13. And with that $13 rental rate, that produces an ARV of $66,032. Rounded, it's $66,000 even. So with that, that's the recommendation I'm making. My understanding it's going to be accepted here.
Justina, are you accepting the recommendation?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. That'll conclude that matter.
Thank you.
Item 3. Okay, Justina.
You too.
105 Pandora. Swear in the applicant, please.
We don't have anything from the applicant, Mr. Chairperson. He's not present.
Not present?
No, you can just move it to the end of the doc, please.
Okay, let's move it to the end of the doc. Item number 4 is at 940 Sherbrooke. Mr. Assessor, if you could read it on.
Sit on that chair. Any of them? I have to swear you in, please. Please state your full name.
Isar Siddiqui.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, please sit.
Mr. Assessor, when you are ready.
File number is 224092. The address is 9 Sherbrooke. Business assessment ID number is 52127. The annual rental value is $71,280. It's for 3,723 square feet, and the overall ARV is $19.15. Below is a chart which indicates the base rent is $60.64 with the occupancy cost to the right, getting back to the $71,280 for the ARV. On the next page over is the subject property. It's located a couple 3 blocks down from health science area on Sherbrooke there and William. So it's in close proximity to that. It is a pharmacy, medical clinic, and lab, as indicated below. I do not have any interior photos of the property, so I couldn't verify anything inside other than the signage and indicating what's going on in the business. This is the INE that we got back from the property owner. My understanding that what we have is the property owner is the same as the corporation that occupies the property. So there was nothing filled out on the INE. It was just no changes and signed. So below that is our standard comparables that we use for the city for OFMs. This is how this building is classified as an office medical. And we have a weighted average, or average of $21.86, a weighted average of $21.64, and a median of $22 for 46 comparables, and a overall about 112,000 square feet of leasable area. So the median series is 1,600 square feet. So when you take it back to this property being in the area that it is, and the location that it is, there's a bit of a reduction underneath that. The model takes into account the location, obviously, and the $16, $17 rent range would be where it's located. So with that, it's a pretty simple workup. I'm open to questions.
Any questions from the applicant for the assessor?
Thank you so much for allowing me to come here today. Yes, when you took the pictures, there is a pharmacy, lab, and the medical clinic. But at the pharmacy lease was terminated at the end of May 2021. So right now, only functioning area is medical clinic, and lab was closed has been closed since several years after Dynacare took over the other labs. All the labs are closed down that were attached to the clinics. So only functioning a part of the medical clinic is a clinic.
Can I just interrupt for one issue?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, if you have any questions, direct me about my brief. If you have any information to present on your behalf, that's during your presentation. So if you have any questions concerning the statements that I made, you're more than welcome to ask.
Yeah. So you said we are functioning on an area of 3,723. There is only one doctor working in the clinic, and he occupies only 2 rooms to function.
Okay. So let me ask you, you fill out the way you did, no changes, all we have to work from. My understanding is this entire facility is owner occupied. You're indicating that it's not owner occupied.
So that again?
The entire facility is owner occupied. Okay, so then there is no lease in place, but it sounds like you have associates working under your banner.
I'm the only doctor there.
Okay.
And there is one gynecologist who comes once a month. So there are 6 rooms, procedure room. The whole area we are using the area, but only 2 rooms are used.
Okay.
I'm the only doctor functioning full time there.
Okay, who owns the building? Who owns the real estate?
The corporation.
Okay, and who occupying the property, the corporation as well?
Corporation.
So it's one and the same.
One.
Okay, so it is owner occupied. There is no rent that exists. So you are occupying the whole building, whether you use all of it or not, whether you have associates or not. For when it sounds like you had a pharmacy in there, the pharmacy left.
The pharmacy is closed.
Okay, but generally speaking, you have carrying control of the entire property and you're occupying it. You may not be using it all, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think
Okay. Further questions of the assessor? Questions? Don't make your presentation yet.
You're asking me?
Yes, please, doctor.
Yes. In my opinion, I think it is not fair to.
I know, doctor. Do you have any questions of the assessor, though?
Assess.
so. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm not a
You're not.
person.
It's okay. You're not a tax agent. It's okay. You're here to ask questions. What your turn now is to ask me questions about my brief, and anything you have on my brief, I can answer. Then it's the balance or the panel members' turns to ask me questions.
Sure.
And then it's your turn to present your information. So
No.
if you have no questions for me,
Your brief is that you did here.
Yeah.
No, I have no questions.
Thank you. Ian, do you have any questions?
I do, just with respect to page 2, the street view of it. Do you know the date of that photo that says United Clinic, Pharmacy, Medical Clinic, and Lab?
I just took it from Google search when I was looking at the property. It would have been, I couldn't tell you. I mean, the timing's varied.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had.
Diane, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so when you're looking at your comparables, what's the year of the building that we're looking at compared to the comparables we're looking at?
I did not have that in the brief. Give me 1 moment. I'll answer that. It looks to be an era of 1970 building. I don't think it's quite older than that, given the roof line and the exterior. But other than that, I can't comment. I don't have access to that information right at this point.
So are the comparables that you're using, are they of the same age then? And
comparables, just generally the marketplace for OFMs. Just to clarify for the panel member, I get where you're going with this, but generally these kind of clinics are owner occupied, especially standalones. They're very actually rented. That's why we only have what we have is 46 comparables. There's a lot more doctors out there than 46, but typically occupied or they own the building. They have a banner, they run their clinic, and then they have rented out space underneath their banner, which is typically the format. But,
okay. Thank you.
Jeremy, had there been any previous appeals on the property assessment on this property?
Not that I found.
If there's separate entrances to the two, I believe, not three, right? Areas?
Yes, I believe there is. You can see the one, two. I don't know the configuration internally, meaning it will have to be set, to be fully demisable. But usually a pharmacy would just have a sliding glass between the medical clinic and the pharmacy so that the pharmacy can be open later.
But if there's a vacancy for 7 years, is that not change the assessed value in the end?
For real estate, perhaps. For business assessment, if you're occupying one premise and it is one premise and you're not using it all, you're still occupying the whole premise. That's where I was going to ask some of my questions leading up to question side.
Yeah, and well, the way I'm looking at it, the pharmacy seems to be a separate identity to itself, correct?
And that's why I was getting at, like, I'm not sure. I don't have interior photos. I didn't inspect the property or the property owner here today, but typically there is a sliding glass door, so to speak. You see them everywhere. So that the medical clinic is open and free, that you can walk between the two pharmacy and the clinic. But when the clinic shuts down, you slide the glass doors usually, or the rolling cage, whatever you want to call it, down, but the pharmacy can remain open later so that customers can access it, but don't have access to the clinic.
Let's hear from the doctor, and then we can ask our questions there as well. Doc, when you're ready, doctor, if you want to make your presentation.
Do we have a presentation?
He's going to make a verbal one by the sounds of it.
Okay.
Talking to me?
Yes.
What was the question? Say that again. You are asking me something.
You're going to make your presentation on why you think this is wrong now.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So,
Presentation, Diane, by the way.
Okay.
The total area of the building is 3,723 square feet, and we have divided this building into. We had divided the building into the lab, pharmacy, conference room, and procedure room, and the examination rooms. There are 6 examination rooms in the building, along with the pharmacy sitting area and the procedure room and the conference room. So out of all this area, initially it was functioning well with the pharmacy, lab, and we used to use the conference room for meetings and other things. So when the Dynacare took over Unicity Labs, they closed the lab in the clinic. then that area is vacant. Lease for the pharmacy was terminated at the end of May 2021, and that is not functioning. Out of 6 examination rooms, there is only one doctor who is full time. I'm the only one doctor full time. I use 2 rooms on a daily basis, 6 days in a week. We have one gynecologist who comes once in a month. She uses 2 rooms. So other rooms are there, but we are not using all of them. The point is, the taxes are going to be a little bit expensive if there is one doctor working and we have to pay all these taxes. We are willing to pay more taxes when we have more doctors, and we'll be happy to inform you and pay more taxes when we have. There is room for 4 doctors, and in the lab, I don't think we are going to start it because Dynacare does not want to start any labs in the clinics. Once we start the pharmacy, we are willing to let you know. We'll pay more taxes as we go along. If we make more money, we will pay more taxes. That's our idea.
Mr. Poole, you have some questions?
Yeah, just generally, I just want to confirm what's going on. So you have a corporation who has rooms, patient rooms. Then you have a meeting room. You have a reception area.
Yeah.
And a waiting area. That would all be under the medical clinic.
Yeah.
So you have optioned yourself to work under it, but other doctors that would work underneath your banner, there would be associate doctors in your corporation.
Right now, they are not there. We will.
But
At some point.
okay. So that I would deem that section owner occupied. Now let's move on to the lab. Prior, was the lab in place running under your banner, or was it a true tenant?
It was leased.
So it was an arm's length tenant, whatever business they did.
Yeah.
That was their going concern, and they didn't share any profits or anything like that.
Yeah, they were independent.
What was the square foot area of that lab?
Square foot was, I don't exactly have, at least, it was not a big area, at least 200.
200 square feet?
At least.
Okay. And then the pharmacy?
400.
4. So there's about 600 K. So the pharmacy itself, was that under your banner as well, or was that under?
It was independent.
Independent. So the total gross area of your building is approximately 3,723 square feet. And you had approximately 600 square feet of 2. And now, next question would be, did those 2 separate tenancies have separate entrances, meaning they're fully visible, no shared space?
No, there is single entrance, and they have their own dividers.
So yeah, like a glass wall,
Yes,
typically, or a
they
rolling
have their own
cage.
dividers, yes.
Okay, so if you're a patient, given the frontage, where would you be going in for the pharmacy, and where would you be?
That's the main entrance. No.
Right here?
Yeah, that's the main.
So that's the only entrance that
There
somebody.
is another entrance on left side. That's the entrance to the conference room.
So separate conference room. So realistically, to get into that building, as far as a money coming through the door, patient coming through the door, client coming through the door, there's one entrance that you come into.
The divider.
Okay, all right. That's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Ian, do you have any questions?
I do, Dr. Siddiqui, can you help me out here? When did Dynacare when did Dynacare take over the lab? This lab closed? Remember?
So we started the clinic in 2016 July.
Okay. Dynacare took it over in about 2018?
We started, the lab was started by Unicity.
Okay.
Unicity. Then I think after about few years, Dynacare took over the Unicity. Then they closed the lab.
Okay. And I'm just looking at the income and expense mailer that was dated June 30th of 2021. You just said no changes on that.
So, I didn't know the technicality of how to do those things. At that time, we had terminated the lease of the pharmacy, The process was still going on whether to continue the lease or terminate completely. When I signed the papers at the end of the June, those things were still not clear, but ultimately it was terminated.
Okay. And just finally, you're the only doctor working there right now, other than the gynecologist who comes in part-time. But you've got room for other doctors. If you hire more doctors, they can come in and start up pretty much right away.
Yeah, but it's hard to find doctors.
I'm with you there.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I've got. Mr. Chair?
Diane, any questions?
Mine were just asked and answered. Thanks.
And so were mine. Thank you very much. That will conclude this matter, and you'll be hearing from us, Doctor, in the next few weeks.
Thank you so much.
Patient. As we stated, item number 5 is going to be adjourned, so we'll move to item number 6. Number 6 is 10260 Hargrave Street. Can you swear in the appellant, please?
Mr. Newman, please state your full name.
Mark Newman.
Thank you. Do you have the evidence you are going to be stating in the vote to attend? Thank you.
Jeremy, when you're ready.
File number is 224660. Address is Unit 100, 260 Hargrave. Business assessment ID is 34896. Annual rent value is 273,540. The total area of all the premises is 9,638. And sorry, we're getting a lot of. Is that just me?
No, I'm hearing the feedback.
Yeah.
Please, computer.
And the overall ARV is 2838. Below is the workup. Base ARV or net rent is $25.88 with the cost to the right, leading back to the 273,540 square feet. So below is indicating what we have. It's not owner occupied, it's Canada Inns, Tavern United. Below is as far as the rental information from the INEs. On the next page is the board revision order for the realty side of things. It was confirmed. This is a Class B building. It has a Class B office space, and obviously on this side of the property, it is restaurant hospitality related. So on page 4 of my brief starts the cover page for the realty side of the. On page 5 and 6 is the pictures of the building. So you have CTV on the one side and you have Tavern United on the other. And it is connected to Canada Life Arena, which is obviously an income generator. This is why all sides of this building has been developed into restaurant hospitality shed district. So it's well situated within that. So on the next page now shows the 9,638 square feet, $25.88 a square foot. That's the rents that were in place. At the realty appeal, it's the same one that we're defending here today. INEs are attached below. And next to that, starting on page 14. 14 indicates highlighted in yellow the Tavern United areas. And just so we're clear, I reviewed, there seemed to be some issues with area. I did review a number of rent rules. I have them here today. I don't think we really need to present them, but there seems to be some that hasn't been accounted for. It's really fundamental, I would think, to the overall. And there is some rooftop area. If you go back to page 2, highlights quite well that there is a rooftop bar, lounge, outdoor area, that it's open, weather permitting kind of thing, probably 6 to maybe 7 months a year if So I have been up there. It is quite nice. This is kind of where we go after the jet game. So, anyways, so show up on the INE. So that being said, on the next pages, on page 16 is highlighted for your convenience. It's a little small print, so I just blew it up a little bit so everyone can read it. And below that is the same on page 17, same comparable district for restaurants, of which Tavern United is in place at $22 a square foot. We have Brown's Social House in at $35, The Merchant, which is $30, and Tim Hortons, which is $28.50, which is effectively the entire square foot area of 311 Portage, which is a newer Class A building across the street, but not connected by any skywalks, but it is directly adjacent to it. And then we have the Shark Club, which is through the skywalks, 17,500 square feet. It is a combination of VLTs and sorts. I think when we went through it is about 40% of the area. The rest of it is restaurant, and they're in at $24. And then you have Boston Pizza, which is on the other end of City Place. They're in at $19.85. That would be the lesser of all the comparables for the shed there. And then you have Rudy's Eat or Drink, which is in the bottom of 375 Graham, which is the Hydro Building. Address is a little different. It is 360. It's just 360 Portage. So the last rent we had in place there was $24 approximately. So with the weighted average, we have about $25.15. That is approximately what we have here today, and around the $25 rent. So I think that's pretty reasonable. On the other side of that is other downtown rents that are not in the shed district, and they summate to approximately $23.04 a square foot weighted average. So realistically, when we're looking at this, we have rents in place for $22 a square foot. And given that the board, given the entire shed district looked at it, indicated that the $25.88 was confirmed. I still think that's a reasonable value to be putting on this building. And with that, I'm open to questions.
Mark, any questions?
I do. So you talked about the realty assessment. The realty assessment appeal was conducted by Altus. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And if I tell you that Canad knows nothing about the realty appeal, knows nothing about what positions were put forward, do you accept that that's the case?
I do. I have no doubt on that.
So then let's jump to your page 17, the last page of your brief, where you've got your comparables. So as the crow flies, or as the person walks, do you agree with me that the closest comparable to the subject property is the Shark Club?
Correct, yeah.
And the Shark Club is located on the second floor of City Place, as it's sometimes called, and that's a half a block out the front door of the Shark Club and then into City Place.
Generally, you go through the skywalk and you walk out.
Or you go out the front door and walk half a block down Hargrave.
Correct.
All right. And then if you go down Hargrave, you come to the corner of Hargrave and St. Mary's, and that's where Boston Pizza is located.
Right.
Right. And so do you agree with me that those geographically, as the person walks, are the two closest comparables to the subject?
Yeah, I generally agree with that, yes.
All right. So then let's talk about 311. So that's a newly constructed, relatively speaking, 7 or 8 years old, I think, building on the corner of Donald and Portage. It's on the northwest corner of Donald and Portage. And that's a building in which you've got, among other things, Brown's Social House, the Merchant Kitchen, and Tim Hortons.
Right.
Whatever the area is for Tavern United, and we'll get back to that in a moment, you agree with me that all of Brown's, Merchant Kitchen, and Tim Hortons are smaller?
Yeah, no, that is correct. Like what I was indicating, that the entire lower plate is occupied by restaurant hospitality. And obviously Tim's. So that entire floor plate is occupied by what it is. So
I understand. And what do you know about the availability or commitment of the landlord of 311 Portage to give parking to those restaurant tenants of that building?
I believe they have some in the parkade attached. I didn't get into the divvy up because there is, that whole building is a Class A, but it is a Class A for office and along with the hotel. So they all have a segment of the parkade.
And do you agree with me and understand that in the leases, certainly for Brown's and for Merchant Kitchen, the landlord has committed to make spaces available in the attached parkade?
I haven't investigated the restaurant aspect of it, but I would assume so. I know there is signage. I park in that parkade.
Yeah.
When I go to, there's quite a bit of signage for Stantec. I don't think I've seen any for Brown's or Social or any restaurant, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some.
All right. And then also in terms of your comparables, you make reference to Rudy at 375 Graham and Marcello's at 360 Portage. So both 360 Portage and 375 Graham are part of the Manitoba Hydro building.
Right.
And 360 Portage Marcello's is on the corner of Carlton and Portage, correct? And Rudy's is on the back of the building facing onto Graham, and that's why it has a Graham address. And so again, as the crow flies or as the person walks, proximity Rudy's to the subject is 1 block west on Graham from the subject to Rudy's. Okay, and so, all right.
They're all like I indicated, they're all shed district. They're all within the geographical boundary of the shed. There's only so many properties that are adjacent to the can't say the old name, the Canada Life Center,
Right.
And they're occupied, so there is no more space available.
And the Shark Club, just coming back to that for a moment, you talked about that being 40% VLT. Do you agree with me that in addition to the VLT, there are also some table games?
There might be. I don't think I've seen table games. Haven't been there.
Is there not roulette there?
I'll take you at your word. I haven't been there in a while.
All right. But you would agree with me that in many ways, that facility functions as a form of casino.
VLTs, yeah, I would limit it. If you're saying there's table games there, I'd find that I don't know how you would have to have a gambling license, obviously.
Yes. Well, clearly they have a gambling license from lotteries and liquor.
I know, but I'm saying it'd be more VLT geared than table geared.
And are you also aware that True North, those VLT machines in there are essentially the VLT machines and games dedicated to True North as part of a special funding arrangement with the province of Manitoba?
I believe we went over this in years past. Yes, I would agree
All
with
right.
that.
Now, let's just finish with the area. And so for the benefit of the panel, Mr. Pohl and I have talked about this. And so you put into your brief at commencing at page 14, but then continuing on to, I guess, page 16, where you've blown it up.
Yeah.
And so what you've done there, you've shown a blown up version. If we go to the middle section of the document, that's the blown up of what the landlord is reporting for square footage and for rent.
Right.
And you are reporting in your material that the rent on this space is $22.
That's what they've indicated. Yes.
Right. And have you done, you know that I've done, and you know that it's in my brief, have you checked my calculation to show that the $17,669.67 per month calculates to $22 on 9,638 square feet?
Yes, it does.
All right. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Ian, any questions?
Just with respect to the real estate that was prepared, and I recognize that that is not prepared by Altus. That's not before us. Do you recall, or have you access to change that? Do you recall, or do you know what the rent per square foot was as presented at the realty brief? or at the realty hearing?
Yeah, from Altus's side?
Yes.
I can't recall that. I don't know. I would have access to it if I was virtually attending today, but no, not in this hearing. I wouldn't have access to that.
Okay. The other question I have is, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the rents comparables are the rents listed in the lease, but there is also either a profit sharing component of those leases, or there is an additional amount based on net sales.
Which comparable are you looking at?
I'm thinking of either Rudy's or
Rudy and I. Generally, there was some issues in reporting, and we went through this with Mr. Slaughter. In the past, it seemed more clear when there was recent IDs that were submitted. It was checked off as gross. It was clearly not gross and was missed. But yes, there was a percentage. Once you reach a certain minimum sales, you would be a percentage of the rent come back. But I wouldn't have I wouldn't be able to answer what the percentage would be. But my understanding is from Altus side of things is that those weren't really hit to be triggered. So
my question relates to respect to Tavern United. Does it have a similar bonus aspect in the lease rent? You don't think so? Okay, thank you very much. I have nothing further.
Diane, any questions?
On the rent roll that you've got on page 14 and 15, that says rent roll as of December 1st, 2019, and that this lease was from July 2010 to June 2020. Have we got updated lease information then?
I believe it's still $22. I've had some conversation with Mr. Newman. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe it was renegotiated at the same $22 rate.
And that would be for the 10,000 square feet? That you're looking at the 4424 plus the 6,063?
Yeah, like it's $22.
Okay. So then why are you using 25?
Because that's market, not necessarily contract. So we're looking at the entire marketplace. And that's what we went with. So
all right, thank you.
Thank you. I've got no further questions. Mr. Newman, on with your presentation, please.
Let me start with the last questions that member Knight was asking. Page 16 of the assessor's brief is the rent roll at December 2020. And what that reflects is, again, you have to do the math, and that's why I asked Mr. Poole the question. But if we go to page, it should be PDF page 4, a handwritten calculation. Do we have
your presentation? Sorry, yeah.
My presentation. So we've got the headings usable and rentable. And you can see the usable is 5610 Main, 4028 Second, 9,638 square feet. If you look at the rent roll, you'll see that there's a total of $212,036 payable on an annual basis. If you divide that by 9,638 square feet, you get to $22. They are not paying $22 based on 10,487 square feet. And that's part of the last question you were asking. Yeah. Let me then just help you understand why this has happened. If you go to the next page in the PDF, you'll see an email, or a fax rather, from Redcliffe Realty Management in June of 2006 to Tavern United, and it's called Area Certification. And if you then turn to the next page, you can see that a company called Space Database has certified the areas in the building, or in the premises rather, as being 6,063 square feet rentable on the first floor, and below that, 4,424 square feet rentable on the second floor. But to the left of that, you've got the 5610 main, the 4,028 square feet upper. And so at the end of the day, the conclusion is there's 9,638 square feet usable, and there's 10,487 square feet rentable. Now, the problem is, what that means is this is a multi-tenant building. And it is very common in multi-tenant buildings that the landlords, for purposes of calculating common area charges and realty taxes, will gross up. They'll increase the square footage for purposes of those calculations to ensure that they capture all the common areas and recover the common areas associated with the operation of the building. Corridors, elevator lobbies, entrance vestibules, all of those things have to be captured by a landlord in order to fully recover their expenses. So that is what this distinction is. At the end of the day, the rent payable is based on 9,683 square feet. The lease ended June of 20, effective July 1 of 21. Effective July 1 of 20. A new lease came into effect at $22 a square foot, same as the old rate. I can tell you that I was very much involved in that process and in that negotiation. And frankly, this is why I am as familiar with all of the comparables the assessor has used as I am, because they were a matter of discussion between landlord and tenant as part of that negotiation. So I just want to make a couple of comments about that. And again, Member Knight, you asked the question, if the contract rent is $22, why is the assessor using $25.87? And the assessor's answer was, because that's the market. Well, with respect, I don't think it is the market. And so in our brief, what I pointed you to on PDF page 3 of the brief, I pointed you to the actual rent that was settled. It was settled March 1 of 21, but effective July 1 of 20 at $22. Boston Pizza, $19.85. Marcello's, $22. The Shark Club is a very different animal. There's all sorts of unique circumstances relating to it because of its connection with True North as the facility that houses essentially what is the gambling operations that the Jets, True North, get a piece of by way of commitment from the province to support the return of the Jets. So the other comparables that the assessor relies on, and bluntly, what brings the average up are those three properties, those three premises at 311 Portage. Brown's, Brown's Merchant Kitchen, and Tim Hortons. And I'll just make a couple of observations about them to indicate why, in my view, they are not the market. First of all, they are right across the street, front door to the main entrance to Canada Life, to the arena. So they get that benefit. Yes, Tavern United is connected by a walkway, but it's at the back end of the arena. There's no main entrance at that corner of the arena. Secondly, those premises are in a building that is relatively newly built, give or take 2015, I'm suggesting. And again, because I was involved in this process for the renewal of this lease, and I know it doesn't matter to some extent, these leases were heavily induced with the landlord giving money to these tenants to do their improvements, to go into a new build. Every new build always brings with higher rental rates than you get from older existing buildings. Thirdly, we're dealing with a reference date of April 1 of 2021. Let's not forget about COVID. Let's not forget about what rates restaurant type, hospitality type operations would be paying if they're doing a lease at April 1 of 21. A lot of them were having a very hard time surviving. You're not seeing high rents, I'll suggest to you, done at that date. But that also reinforces the point that I don't think we can be looking at these somewhat dated leases, I will suggest. What's most important in my mind is what these parties did effectively at the reference date of April 1 of 21. So, and as the assessor concedes, and as you see in the math I've done, if the assessor wants to argue about a higher area, that's great. Then take down the effective rent that's being paid, because this tenant is paying $212,000 for all the space they occupy. If that's 9,638 square feet, that's $22. If it's 10,487 square feet, it's $20.22. What was ultimately put into effect is $22 a square foot that gives them gives the landlord $212,036. That's $22 based on 9,638 square feet. I am open to questions.
I just have a few.
Well,
You have intimate knowledge. Obviously, you represent Canada Inns. You indicated that you were with arriving at the lease in this. I take it your word that it was negotiated and it wasn't on contract from before, a long-term lease?
So, and you and I talked about that this morning. And yes, there was a long-term lease put in that had step-ups. Those step-ups came to an end. And this is a new rate that is arrived at without having been preset back in 2006.
Okay. And you're aware that for this assessment period, that the last INE that we're to look at is the 2020 year. The 2020 year would have been delivered sometime in June, or maybe depending on the extension. So when you have this rental rate at $22 and you arrived in March 1st, 2021, effectively, there's no way for the assessment department to look at it because we never had possession of it.
Well, except what I will say to you, and maybe that's the case, maybe, but maybe not, because again, what is reported in the rent roll that you have for 2020, which depending on when you receive it, would already reflect.
2020, we would have received that the year before.
No, you would have received it depending on extensions, May, June. There was a July extension actually in 21. So for 20 rather. So you might have received it as late as July of 21.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have been effective to this new lease. Like there was
yes, it would have. I'm telling you, the deal was done March 1 of 21.
And your client filled that out, so.
My client didn't fill it out. The landlord filled it out.
Okay.
And that's part of the issue. The landlord filled it out. The tenant doesn't see this.
Because I see from June 2010 to June 2020. I don't see it past 2020. It's highlighted in yellow for both. So it looks like we're running the 10-year term from before, and we don't have the newly updated.
Fair enough.
Okay. As far as the rental area, you're aware of it, and I agree with your analysis, whether it's X square foot or a bit of variance on that. Essentially, they're paying some dollars of what you indicated. So, right. So I just want to confirm from my aspect, the common area, there seems to be a difference of 849 square feet between where we are at and where you're suggesting. This is a single restaurant and it is a single CTV tenant on the other side. The common area.
There's other tenants in the building.
What other tenants?
True North has office space in the building.
Essentially, they're taking over space that CTV left out, right?
It's a multi-tenant building.
Okay, so bear with me here for a moment. I'm just trying to pin down where the areas are coming from. When you get off to get in, and I go there quite often after jet games, but when you get off the, I guess you would say the landing to get into the building, there's elevators, and then you walk a little bit, there's an entry door to the tavern. Would that area there be the common area? That's part and then underneath that on the, would also be about the same square footage. So that'd be about 849 square feet. I reviewed the rent rolls in order to come to make sure the areas are correct. We have reported that there's 581 square feet of storage area that they occupy. Have you found that in the building? Because the $581 or 581 storage area minus the common area of 849 square feet would almost be nominal.
So first of all, when the calculations are done for purposes of realty and common area costs, they look at the entire square footage of the building. So it's not just lobbies or vestibules, tavern, it's the other common areas of the building as well. And as we've noted, it's tavern, it's True North, it's CTV, those are the multi. So there's going to be other square footage that will go into that calculation. Second of all, bottom line is at the end of the day, as between this landlord and this tenant, they pay $22 a square foot based on 9638. If you want to add other space to that, then you're going to decrease the effective rental rate. But that's the deal between the.
All right, that's the only questions I have.
Diane, any questions?
I'm not sure. I think I've got it straight.
Not sure if you're freezing up on us.
I am freezing up. Sorry, I'm going to say no questions at this time.
Thank you.
Oh,
Ian?
no, I do have one question. So, Mr. Newman, you did not represent this property at the realty assessment, correct?
That's correct.
And you have no access to know what value the realty assessment used on this property. Is that correct?
I have no access to know what Altus, on behalf of the landlord, put on the space. I see from the assessor's brief that the assessor used the same $25.87 a square foot on realty that they're using on the business.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Ian, any questions?
Just following up with that a little bit, there's obviously a relation between the rental amounts used in the realty appeal as well as the business assessment appeal.
I'm presuming they're model driven.
Okay. And the rates that would be presented by the applicant, whether that's the landlord or the tenant, would also have bear relationship to the outcome of the appeal. Presumably. Yeah. But you don't have or you can't tell us what Altus prepared or as a rental or why they would have got. I don't want
I don't know what Altus presented. What I will say, we don't have the second page of the order. What I will say is that it has been my experience that on certain properties, and maybe Mr. Pohl knows whether Altus, Marcello Navarro, simply sought a confirmation or whether this one was contested.
No, it wasn't contested, I believe. Sorry, it's going back a bit.
So I don't know how they approached the case. I would like to think they might have been looking at the same rent roll that Mr. Pohl has presented. So I would like to think they would have been arguing for no more than a $22 contract rent, but I don't know.
And the Graham Powerhouse investment, presumably that appeal with all of the tenants in that multi-tenant building. Yes, in the Powerhouse building.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
I do have one further question, Mr. Chair. Do we know if this appeal, the realty decision is being appealed by the Powerhouse, whatever that company, Graham Powerhouse Investment Inc.?
I did not check that for this appeal. I have no way to check that here in this.
Mr. Newman, do you know if that's being appealed?
Oh, I would be shocked if it were not being appealed. but I don't know with certainty.
Okay, thank you.
And I've got no questions, so that will conclude that matter. Anything in summation, gentlemen?
No,
No, other than, I just want to point out that we didn't have access to, I know we didn't have access to the newly, signed lease. That would have been something we've been able to consider, but that would have been on the next year's INE. So, and I think that's pretty much highlighted in the brief, indicating that it stopped in June 2020.
Thank you. So that concludes that matter then. Let's move on to item number 7. 281 Donald. Again.
You got any? File number 224670. Address is 281 Donald, obviously the Met Center. The annual ARV is $967,988. The total area is for 40,654 square feet. The total ARV is $23.81. Below that, we've indicated it's a $21.31 base rent or net rent with the occupancy cost to the right. The property is owner occupied. It is again Canada Inns, and we're recommending that a joint recommendation from both agent and assessor that it be confirmed with expectation that it be added to the existing group of outstanding municipal board appeals associated with this property. So there is a test case in place for this property. It's yet to be heard, and I believe every year for business assessment and realty is made under appeal, and it's going to fall within that. So we're here the test case, and then we'll go back into discussions with whatever comes from that. So with that point, I don't think it. I think it just needs to be confirmed. We can move along.
I agree.
Mark agrees, and we won't challenge you guys. Any questions from the panel members?
None for me, thanks.
No, sir.
Okay, that will conclude that matter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice seeing everyone.
Seeing you.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
This, we have heard all the items scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not adjourned. Get back up, Marcel. We got to go to item. Jeremy, item 3. I'm sorry. I'm going too fast for myself here. Now we got to go in camera for a second. Okay, Jeremy, so stick around. Thank you. Our meeting's back in order. Mr. Poole, if you can read item 3 onto the record, please.
Bear with me here. Item 3, file number 224094. The address is 105 Pandora East. Business assessment ID number is 54490. The business name is Fast Gas Plus. The annual rental value is $79,200. The area of the premises is 2,553 square feet. And the overall ARV is $31.02. It consists of a car wash and a gas bar, which are given base rents of $39.71 and $10.27 respectively, with the associated costs to the right. And so that summates to the $79,200 for the annual rental value. So I can get into it further, but given there's been no contact from the appellant and they're not here today, I'm asking for it to be confirmed.
Thank you. Any questions of the panel members?
No, sir.
None. Thank you. And that will now conclude today's meeting.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.